So today we're making coffee liqueur. You might know it as brand name Kahlua that's available at the supermarket. If you look at the supermarket, it runs about 30 bucks a bottle, give or take. You can make twice as much Kahlua at home for about 10 bucks by making your own at home. So it's a super simple recipe. There's only 5 ingredients, I think, if you count the water. You start by brewing up some really strong coffee, espresso. If you don't have a means to do that at your home, go to your local coffee shop and ask them to brew you up some that you can bring home, and you're going to put that in the pan, which is really hot. We're not really cooking anything here as much as we are dissolving the sugar. We just need to get it to the point that that sugar is dissolved. So that was 2 cups of sugar. And then we're going to add two and a half cups of water. Now, I don't normally make this in my cast iron pan, but because of lighting, we're at my counter instead of at my stovetop. And I borrowed this induction heater or an induction cooktop, and the only pan I had that would work on it is the metal cast iron. So normally I would just do it in a saucepan on my stove. I'm just going to stir this until the sugar dissolves. It's easier to tell when the sugar's dissolved if you're using a saucepan, a lighter colored saucepan, but I can feel in this cast iron pan, I can still feel the granules of the sugar on the bottom as I'm stirring. And as this is not my usual cooktop, I'm not sure how long it's going to take to do this. I can feel it, it's breaking down though. So while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of other ingredients in my big half-gallon jar, and I know from experience that this half-gallon jar will hold the whole recipe. And this is basically going to be vodka going in here. This is not top shelf vodka because you're adding the flavors of the coffee and the sugar syrup. You don't really need to pay extra money for any top shelf vodka. I'm going to pour in 3 tablespoons of vanilla. Okay, and then we're going to check and see how this is doing. The sugar is pretty well dissolved there. So I'm going to turn that off and lift this in here. It's not light. Using my canning funnel to prevent spilling. Ooh, that's not going to fit in there. And now, Brad, you can see the sugar was not completely dissolved in there. I can see it better with some of that out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and just stir that a little bit more. It's a very flexible recipe. And the sugar, actually, it will dissolve some as it sits too in the liquid, but the more you can get it dissolved, the better. If you're going to make this as a gift for people, you need to plan a little bit ahead. It's not mandatory. You can still give it before it's had a chance to sit, but this is going to taste better if you make it 4 to 6 weeks before you want to give it so that it's ready to drink right away. The flavors just have a chance to meld that way. See, at the end there was a little bit of sugar fines left. Okay, so that's it. We're going to take this 1/2 gallon of Kahlua, and I'm going to set that in a cool, dark place. I'll put this in my pantry with a lid on, of course, and it will sit for 4 to 6 weeks. The flavors will meld, they'll be ready to go, and then I'll transfer it to pretty bottles for gift giving. This is probably a 2-cup bottle. If you wanted something that would be a nice hostess gift, you could use smaller bottles. Tie a ribbon on. You could tie a recipe for making Kahlua and cream to the bottle. And that's it. You've got a collection of, it depends on the size bottle you use, but you will end up with anywhere from, 3 to 5, 6 little bottles that you can give out as gifts. If you'd like the printable recipe for making this, I know I talked a little bit about the measurements, but if you need the printed recipe, please go to Attainable Sustainable.